Guys, welcome to the I Love CVille Show. It's Jerry Miller. Thank you for joining us on the I Love CVille Network. We very much enjoy connecting with you through this platform as we spotlight the best of Charlottesville, Virginia. Today's guest embodies that tagline and those qualities. Lee Elberson, our guest, the Chief Executive Officer of Clayborne Education, also a board member with CIC. We're going to spotlight both entities and what makes Lee tick in our community. I have the pleasure of running into this gentleman every now and again at ACAC. He is a beast on the squash courts. He is also a guiding light, North Star, a compass, if you may, for many aspiring and active entrepreneurs across our community. In fact, one of them is watching right now, and Robert Gray. Hello, Robert. Welcome to the program. We love you here, homie. James Watson, hello. Give the show a like and a share on any of the 12 Facebook pages that you're watching, just like Scott Williams has done. Big fans of Scott Williams on this program. Before we welcome Lee to the show, we'll thank two of our clients that we've had the pleasure of working alongside for almost 8 years now. We are an advertising agency and I Love CVille and V&V brands. What that means is we manage the brands for a number of clients up and down the eastern seaboard. Two of our favorites, Interstate Pest and Service Companies and Scott Wagner Chiropractic and Sports Medicine. Any aspect of their brand interfacing with the marketplace originates on the first and second floor of the Macklin building on Market Street. We'll give you a snapshot of Interstate first. The business started in 1969 with the first generation, Mr. Robert Wells, who has since passed away. In 1969, he used his personal truck and sweat equity to build a company. It was a one-man show at the time. He would go around Charlottesville servicing people's homes, go to his first customer, find the closest payphone in 1969, call his second customer and say, "Can I drive to your house now?" Today, Interstate has 4 generations of family running the business, almost 100 employees in a working footprint of the entire Commonwealth of Virginia. We love this business. We also love the good doctor, Scott Wagner of Scott Wagner Chiropractic and Sports Medicine, physical therapy, chiropractic care, sports medicine. Dr. Wagner has your back. Ashley Chericks, welcome to the program. Derek Rush, welcome to the program. I see a number of folks from CIC watching the show. Judah Wickower, our director. Let's go to the studio camera, please, and let's welcome our friend Lee to the show. Lee, good afternoon, sir.
How's it going, Jerry?
It's going well. How are you?
Doing well, yeah.
Good. I'm excited to spotlight you on the show. You see CIC is watching as we speak. Before we go down that road, I'd like to get to know you and the viewers get to know you a little bit more. What makes Lee Elberson tick?
Whew, boy, how long is this show?
You got as much as you need, baby. No rules at this company.
Oh, that's great. I would say I've definitely moving to Charlottesville has really helped me find myself. I didn't really do much volunteering before I moved to Charlottesville, and
now you're a beast.
I guess I am a beast. I found my passion of helping others. Little fun fact: I actually just turned 244 years old on Sunday, Marine Corps birthday. Marine Corps birthday started in Tun Tavern in 1775 on November 10th, and so every year I celebrate the Marine Corps birthday. I'm a Marine Corps veteran, and so usually try to do something special. I don't go to the Marine Corps ball anymore, but usually eat some red and yellow cake. Those are the Marine Corps colors. So.
We had Kerry Rock on the show. Now, he was Army, and he was on the show on Monday. He did a tour in Iraq and a tour in Afghanistan. He's now running a nonprofit called Do Good CVille, where he's focused on making Charlottesville better. Where I'm going with this is Veterans Day was Monday.
Yeah.
I asked him the same question. What does Veterans Day mean to you?
Well, Veterans Day to me means, just reaching out to all of the great men I served with and just, recounting some of the stories that really made us want to serve our country like we did, and honoring any of our brothers who had fallen in arms. And, it should be a day of relaxation for me. I used to never work on Veterans Day.
Now you're an entrepreneur.
Now I'm an entrepreneur, so I work all the time. But it's just basically a time to just reflect on that. And it seems like forever ago. I actually graduated Marine Corps boot camp 22 years ago to the day.
Wow.
Yeah.
What was Lee like in boot camp? Were you fit? Were you ready for it?
Oh, I mean, you don't have any choice but to be fit. You run 3 miles. I was running 3 miles in 18 minutes, if you can believe that.
Wow.
Could do 20 pull-ups, and not the pull-ups where you kick, but straight up and down.
20 legit pull-ups?
20 legit pull-ups.
That's impressive.
And I could do 100 sit-ups in 2 minutes.
Get out, dude.
Yeah.
So you were shredded.
I was 170 pounds soaking wet, 6'2".
Wow.
Now I'd be lucky if I could do a third of those things.
You're still a beast.
Still, maybe on the squash courts a little bit.
Why'd you get out of the Corps?
The Corps was great for me. I really appreciated the discipline. But at the time, I was really finding my passion in education, which was I was just fascinated by physics. Always have, probably always will be. And at that time, there just wasn't a whole lot of options for me as a physicist and the Marine Corps, so I had a tough time reconciling those two. And so ultimately, I decided to get out of the Corps and pursue a career in physics. And like I said, I still to this day am reading physics papers. I'm reading a really fascinating paper on quantum coherence, but I won't bore everyone with those details because everyone will fall asleep.
You studied physics at the University of Louisiana Lafayette.
Yes.
From Louisiana Lafayette, you crush it from an honor standpoint, from a grade standpoint. Give us the flip book. How do you go from there to Charlottesville to being CEO, to, in a lot of ways, determining the direction and vision of the business that you are not only a co-owner of, but in a lot of ways calling the day-to-day shots?
Yeah. Well, I think, the story all sort of comes together in the end. As I was pursuing a career in physics, I always loved solving puzzles, but academia many times includes sitting in a room by yourself figuring out problems, and I've always been an extrovert. And so as I was just pushing deeper and deeper into my physics career, I got to work with a lot of brilliant people, got to work with some Nobel Prize winners, which was really amazing. But it was right when I was interviewing for a postdoc position at the University of Virginia and realized that I didn't want to pursue a career in academia. I wanted to spend my time helping people, and I didn't know how that would manifest itself, so I started tutoring on the side, and my buddy lived in Charlottesville, and he said, "Hey, why don't you move to Charlottesville and let's start a tech company together?" And I said, "Brilliant." My dad was an entrepreneur, and I said, I really love the idea of starting something myself and, serving people. And so I was probably about 4 or 5 months into us in this tech startup, and another light went off, and I thought, I get more out of tutoring students for 4 or 5 hours a week than 50 hours in this startup. Why don't I merge those two? Why don't I start a business, but start a tutoring business? That way, all I get to do is help students all day. I loved helping people. And so I knew the owner of Clayborne at the time, Clay Daniel, and, I had tutored for him as a contractor, and went in and said, "Hey, Clay, I just kind of want to give you a heads up. I want to start my own tutoring company."
I'm going to start a competitor to your business in a really small town.
But if you knew Clay, he's a great guy. We align morally so many ways. I felt it was my duty to tell him that. And Clay, being the brilliant guy he is, said, "I've got a better idea. Why don't we be business partners?" And it was a much better idea because he had already started the foundation of a really great company. He had, in 2009, started basically out of a basement and tutoring out of CVille Coffee. And then, when I came on, our skill sets really sort of matched up together. And he's really great at instructional and, managing tutor hiring and training. And I am, at my heart, an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
I want to not only start my own business, but I want to help anyone in my sphere start a business. I just recently helped my brother-in-law close a deal to buy out his business partner, so that now he is the full owner. And
nice.
So,
what kind of business?
He owns a web hosting and domain management company.
Okay.
Based out of Louisiana.
Okay.
But he would be probably happy to take on clients in Virginia. So 8 Hats Digital, we use them. They're great.
Lee Elberson.
Always got to be out.
Gotta plug, baby.
Yeah, I'd probably plug other people's business.
Please
more
do.
than my own.
Please do. Cindy Elberson, is that your mom?
That is my mother.
She's watching right now.
Oh.
She says you can tell Lee is passionate about volunteering. I believe she's watching in Louisiana.
Yes.
Welcome to the program, Cindy. Derek Rush says, okay, Lee, I see you, baby. He's giving you some props right now. You're getting some love from Michelle McCartney as well. Tim is watching in Crozet. Give it a like and a share on any of the streams that you guys are watching. Folks in Richmond and in D.C. watching right now. Dr. Neal, welcome to the program. Charlottesville Direct Primary Care, thank you for joining us. You said your dad was an entrepreneur.
Yes.
What kind of entrepreneur?
My dad was an artist and started a T-shirt company.
Okay.
Probably in his early 20s.
Okay.
And ran various iterations of that. At one point, we were doing merchandise for the Olympic Festival. So
Okay.
as a family, we got to travel around, and some of these festivals, you're doing $100,000 of business in a day.
Yeah.
And so to watch my dad manage that it was really amazing. And my mom was his business partner. She was the level-headed one, always sort of kept him on track. And loved my dad. He passed away last year, but even until the year he passed away, he was still doing artwork for people. In fact, some of his best artwork was done in his final days, in my opinion.
So it's interesting why I brought this up. So my parents, entrepreneurs, bought out a CPA firm in Naples, Florida. My dad was the CPA. My mom was the front of the house, if you may, interface with the clients. My dad used to always say, I do the work, but my mom gets them coming back. They exited that practice in Naples, Florida. Then they bought another one in Newport News, Virginia, exited that one as well. So where I'm going with this is, as the son of entrepreneurs, it's my brother and I. My brother saw firsthand, we were growing up, this is in the 80s, we're relatively the same age. So in the 80s, they lived at their business, especially January 1 to April 15. Tax season. So my brother and I they would just hide us in the copier room. The times where businesses had a room allocated solely to a copier. So my brother and I would be playing Spit, the card game.
Yeah,
or Tick, whatever it was in the copy room. So where I'm going with this is I remember the life of an entrepreneur by watching my parents, and I loved it. My brother remembered the life of entrepreneurs, and he's like, I want something different. He's the head of global marketing for Snapchat, my brother is.
Wow.
So where I'm going with this is a lot of offspring or children, they either go far one way or follow in the footsteps. You wanted to follow in the footsteps.
Yeah, it's sort of interesting to me because when you witness your parents doing it, I would watch, sometimes entrepreneurs, you don't work 40-hour weeks. Some weeks it's 80 hours. And so I think what drew me to it, and maybe what draws many entrepreneurs to it, is the fact that you can just give your entire heart to this business.
Yeah.
And
it becomes a child.
Yeah. It is basically, it's your baby.
Yeah.
And you have control over it, and you can shape the company that's best aligned with your personal mission. And I think that's what drew me to it is I can really invest myself in it. If I was working for some big corporation, I might not be able to have that same level of commitment as I do now.
I bet you would.
I probably would.
Yeah, just because it's in your blood.
I don't. Yeah, I don't do things.
You don't do things half
50%.
half tail.
0% or 100% for me.
Scott Williams is watching. Lee is a beast. Numbers, ideas, racquetball, video games, mentor. He does it all. Robert Gray says, thank you for all you do, Lee. Cole Marston, welcome to the program. A lot of people watching the show now. Give it a like and a share. And if you have any perspective you'd like to relay to the Chief Executive Officer, Lee Elberson, just put it in the comments box of any of the Facebook pages and I'll pass it along. You are passionate when it comes down to it about people.
I really am. If I see someone struggling with anything in their business or maybe their personal life, my natural instinct is to go to their aid and try to help them. And that's obviously has come to bear in Clayborne. It's come to bear in my work with CIC. I'm a board member of CIC, but I'm also a heavy volunteer. I will teach anything that they ask me to teach. I will take on as many mentoring clients as I can with CIC, and that's just really at my my heart is to just help people as much as I can. I am a numbers guy, super big math nerd, and a lot of people are scared of working with spreadsheets or with numbers or with equations. I'm here to sort of give them peace of mind that it's not as scary as you might think it is. It actually can be fun.
Yeah, no, I'm son of a CPA. I enjoy the numbers,
Yeah.
especially when they're trending in the right direction. That's when I really
When it's trending in the right direction.
I really enjoy looking at the balance sheet and the P&L. Throw the Clayborne piece to you, and then I want to spotlight CIC. I want to spotlight a newly engaged man, and congratulations on that. Why don't we start with that?
Let's start with that. Yeah.
Recently engaged?
Yeah, recently engaged. In fact, I've been wearing this little Cupid pin here. Because
Okay.
This is sort of I've been using it as my engagement pin because I realized that.
Can we see it again?
Yeah.
Get a little close up on that Cupid pin, Judah Wickower. Is that the arrow to your heart?
That's the arrow to my heart.
Okay.
And you know what I realized is my fiance gets this nice, pretty ring, which was done for us by Tool Jewelers. I don't know if you know Mary Luz Davini.
I get my watch service there.
Oh man, she is just the best. She was amazing. Also a CIC board member. So she gets this nice, pretty ring. I didn't get anything, so I needed something to sort of show that I am newly engaged.
Well, you get a wedding ring when you're married.
Yeah, but
Are you a ring guy? I'm married. I don't wear my ring. It's because it's clunky. It gets
Well, I'm not usually a jewelry guy, but my fiance Alex Washura and I went to Bali about 2 months ago, and I found my engagement ring, and it's perfect because it rotates on this axis, so I could just fiddle with it all day long. So I'm looking forward to that, but I have to wait a year for that.
Right, you do.
Yeah.
You do. So what attracted you to your better half?
I mean,
how'd you guys meet? What's the love story?
The love story is actually pretty cute.
I would love to hear it.
Yeah. So Alex is from California.
Okay.
I am from Louisiana, but I was living in Virginia 5 years ago. Okay. And my family has been going camping in Northern California. My cousins out there have been going camping for 30 years. Her family's been going camping out there her entire life. And so we had both been going to the same campsite for probably 5 years until one year a buddy of ours who's a firefighter said, he told me, he's like, hey, I've got this girl you really need to meet. She's smart. She's pretty. You'll really like her. And I looked at him. I said, Daryl, I've been camping for 3 days. My hair's messed up. I got dirt all over me. I'm like, I'm not looking for somebody to date out here. Okay. And apparently he told her the same thing. And we were actually out. There was a bar nearby, and there was a dance floor. And this girl one night asked me to hold her drink, and I locked eyes with her, and I said, this is the girl. And
wait, this is the girl I'm going to marry, or this is the girl they want to introduce me to?
Okay, first I said this is the girl they want to introduce me to. Okay. It honestly only took about 5 days, and I thought, I think I'm going to propose to this girl.
Shut up.
Yes.
Really?
It's weird. They talk about love at first sight. We just connected on so many different levels. She's a mechanical engineer. I'm a physicist, so we have definitely
common ground.
95% common ground. The 5% is usually the engineer-physicist battle, but so that's how we met. And so I thought it was perfect that this was our 5-year anniversary from when we met, and so I proposed at the campsite this year with my mom there, and it was just it's very romantic.
With Cindy Elberson there?
Cindy Elberson was there.
She made the trip from Louisiana?
Mm-hmm.
I love it. I love it. Did your soon-to-be better half know it was coming?
No, I threw her off the scent a little bit.
How did you do that?
Well, we had the Bali trip coming up, and actually the morning of, she knew it was the 5-year anniversary of the time we met. That day was actually also my parents' anniversary, so probably it's thinking in the back of her mind. So I woke up and I said, honey, today's our 5-year anniversary when we met. I really wanted to make today special. I've just been. This is a really stressful time at work.
You downplayed it.
I downplayed it, right? So she wasn't expecting it, and I had to try to get her alone. So I told her, I was like, I read some work emails. I'm really stressed. Can we just go for a hike? And so we hiked up to the top of this waterfall, and we actually got a picture of it. As soon as I got on my knee, I said, will you? And then she immediately just said yes. And I was like, you have to finish the question.
So was Cindy hiding in the brush?
Cindy wasn't hiding, but she was actually back at the campsite.
Okay.
I had sent Alex's cousin out ahead of time because he was in on it. And he said, hey, I tell you what, I'm a photographer. I'll hide in the bushes and take pictures of the event. So he's got pictures right of me proposing.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So how does Alex respond to being hitched to an entrepreneur? Because I don't know, you and I are probably very similar. So I have I have a little boy.
Yeah.
I tell folks all the time I have 2 kids. I have my 19-month-old son, and I have this 11-and-a-half-year-old business, and both need attention.
Yeah.
Both need to be fed food and revenue. Both need to be matured and nurtured and shown what to do and what not to do. It is not easy being, especially the number one at a business. How does Alex respond to your mind constantly probably being on work, even if you're not at work?
She moved to Charlottesville 3 years ago, and I told her when she moved here that I wouldn't do what I was doing before, which was working till 8 o'clock every night, something I know you do because I see you in these offices all the time.
That's true.
I told her that I was going to take 2 days a week where I was going to work late, and then the other days I was going to be home by 6 o'clock. That way we could have dinner.
Okay.
And so she really does a good job of helping me keep things in perspective, because when you're a business owner, everything seems urgent. Everything just seems like it has to be done right now.
Yeah.
In the end, taking that time to just give yourself some self-care and relax and step back from it has been one of the best things. So, I'm actually working less hours now than before she moved here, but I feel like I'm more productive.
Wow.
Because those hours are more impactful.
Sure. Fiona Forward, I'm giving you some props right now. Thank you for joining us on the show. Bellamy Brown is watching. Mark Wogman's watching. Gokhan Dickman is watching. Elliot Harding watching the show now. If you have any perspective you'd like to relay to Elliot, to Lee, I'm happy to pass it along to Lee. We will get to these comments here in a matter of moments. So you get back to Clayborne, and I love this story. You go to someone that has an existing company and says, I'm considering launching a rival to your company. Instead, he has the vision to say, why don't we work in conjunction, a joint venture, a JV, if you may. And what was going through your mind at that time? Were you one of those guys? A lot of the entrepreneurs, we are all in some ways very prideful, and there's a little bit of ego because the odds are so stacked against us. 80% of small businesses are failing in their first 3 years. Was there an issue, not an issue, but a crossroads with you where you're like, I want to start something versus taking an existing brand that's already on market?
That's, I think it definitely did cross my mind.
Okay.
I did want to, I did want to start my own thing. I wanted it to be mine. But I think my experience watching my dad, helped me to realize that, it's great to start something, have it be all your own, but sometimes the stress, when it all falls on your shoulders,
It's brutal.
It can be lonely,
Yeah.
it can be brutal, and I don't think I knew then how great it would be to have a business partner to not only help share the stress, but also to bounce ideas off of.
Yeah.
Sometimes you come up with ideas as a visionary and you think, oh, this is a great idea. You don't know how you're going to execute it. You're not even entirely sure if it is a good idea. But having somebody there with you to say, you know what, that is a great idea. Why don't we do this? Instead of doing it this way, why don't we do it this way? And you think, God, you know what, that is a better idea. So in the end, I recommend to everyone, if you can find a business advisor, or if there's somebody who shares your passion and your mission, get yourself a business partner.
So that's the advice you're offering through some of the young or aspiring entrepreneurs at CIC?
Definitely.
Yeah?
Yeah, I try to be that business advisor, and obviously I can't, and I don't think I'd want to be business partners with every business in Charlottesville.
Well, people aren't as cool as you. I mean, I mean that sincerely here. Like, I don't think I would, and I'm going to cut straight to the chase. Like, I would not make a good business partner with somebody. Like, I am very alpha and very, in some ways, confident. And I would love to have that, like, micro, macro perspective where I can bounce some ideas off people. Because as entrepreneurs, we're jack of all trades in a lot of ways. We see opportunity everywhere. And that is often the fatal flaw of a lot of entrepreneurs, is they see not all money is good money, is what I'm saying.
It's true.
So where I'm going with this is, like, in a lot of ways, my wife has become that. And she understands we have so much skin in the game now with a little one to feed that things have got to... when I told her I'm going to invest $30,000 into this equipment and do a live show on Facebook, she was like, what in the hell are you talking about? Are you serious? Are we really going to do this? And I'm like, give me a chance. This is the plan. This is what I'm going to do. She's like, all right, I believe in you. Let's go for it. And it's taken the business to another level. Throw this to you here. what do you say to the people, or can you even tell the makeup of someone psychologically if they would be good for a partner-based business or a solo-based, no partner business?
I might. So to answer your question, I can definitely think about many entrepreneurs structurally where it makes sense for them to be a sole proprietor. I might make the argument that everyone needs somebody to bounce ideas off of and some sort of partner in the journey. Whether or not that's spelled out in an operating agreement or not, that might be inconsequential, but you need somebody to bounce ideas off of. If it's the right person, and only if it's the right person, should you include them in your company decisions. Many times, significant others end up becoming your business partner in some way or another because you are bouncing ideas off of them. They are helping you out with your ideas. But many of the entrepreneurs that we come to at CIC are sole proprietors, and in terms of a startup business, sometimes it just doesn't make sense to have another partner. There's two people trying to pull revenue from the from the profits, and it doesn't make sense financially. But I do think that finding either an advisor or somebody to bounce ideas off of, I think everyone can use that.
Rock Gantz, welcome to the program. Your mom says the best camping trip ever, honey. So throw the Clayborne experience. When you get integrated, we got some DMs coming in for you. I love when these come in. We'll get to these in a matter of moments. When you join the Clayborne team, what kind of implementation strategies that leads to tangible production did you put into effect early on? Or were you like, let me chill, let me feel it out, and then we'll get after it?
Both.
Okay.
So I think, the main thing I was focused on was growth and scalability. My business partner, Clay, had just sort of let things happen organically.
Right.
And, I saw the value proposition of what we were doing at Clayborne and wanted to help as many students as we possibly can. And so that immediately means some sort of growth, right? Not only growth within Charlottesville, but growth within Central Virginia. And so I started focusing on, how do we serve more students, and how do we do it in a sustainable way? Because, for a business, if you triple in volume in 1 month, and you're likely going to see some degradation in service. There's going to be things slip between the cracks. Yeah. So there's a lot that goes with it. As a visionary, I can say, here's where we want to grow. I've been lucky. We have an amazing team. It's not just Clay and I making these decisions. We also have another business partner, Scott Webster, who runs our college admissions, and we have an operations team who really just helps us bounce ideas off of. In fact, our ops manager, Beth Zambone, helped me prep for this meeting today. And so having a team behind you really helps, especially for you and I, right? If you're sort of visionary for a company, you need somebody to help you execute on those visions.
I would think with your respective business, and I'm not going to assume, that's why I'm asking the question, the challenge of scaling. Talk to me about that here, because it's probably pretty easy to grow organically if you're Clay, in a lot of ways like a one-man show or managing like a very small group of tutors, and you do really well by a student. That student crushes their standardized tests or does really well in calculus or AP physics or chemistry, whatever it may be. Their mom, oftentimes what we're trying to do at an advertising agency is target the moms. Moms control the household budget. Their mom is probably going to tell 2 or 3 of their friends, and there's some organic growth that can happen there. How did you go from organic growth to truly scaling into a company? From being essentially a lifestyle business to a company?
That's a great question. I think as you probably know better than me, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that marketing is multifaceted, multiple layers. There has to be so many different touch points, and so obviously the organic growth through word of mouth, it's tough, I think, to artificially promote that, right? If people are, you can offer people, hey, I will give you $50 if you mention us, but if they're really happy with your service, they're going to do it anyway. They're going to do it anyway. Right. And, as in our business, we have a few people, Fiona Ford is one of them, who are just major fans of Clayborne, and they just tell everyone they know about us. We also try to fan the flames. If people are happy, we ask them to do testimonials. But in terms of marketing, in figuring out who are some of the stakeholders in the student's future. A lot of this has to do with the college counseling that's currently happening at schools, right? We want to be on their radar, letting them know, hey, we are not in competition with you. We are a support system for you. We want you to use us to help your students and to help your students across the board, regardless of their financial capacity. And so that's been one avenue. Obviously, there's other marketing channels trying to be active in the college fairs and Google AdWords and Facebook ads, all of those sort of things, but still our best avenue is that word of mouth.
We got a question coming in. This is coming in from Grace in Richmond. Jerry, I love the show. I'm a UVA grad, so I try to tune in anytime that you have an entrepreneur on the program. I'm curious if your guest has any intrigue in the SaaS model or implementing the SaaS strategy into education, into tutoring. So I'll give some background on that. Good question, Grace. A SaaS is subscription as a service. And it's an acronym, and basically it's users will pay a brand or a business X amount of dollars, usually on a monthly basis, for access to something. That's the value proposition, is access. Oftentimes the access is to content, to education, to materials. So I guess, and I'm going to try to fill in the dots here, and Grace, correct me if I'm wrong here, she's basically, I think, alluding to, does your model in the future consider a subscription-based service to unlock content that will improve someone from a classroom or education standpoint? It's a good question.
Yeah, Grace, that is an excellent question. I think our model is based on one-to-one personalized preparation, which, as you alluded to, makes it very difficult to scale.
Yeah.
If you're in a SaaS model, you can, then the volume of people you can serve is much higher. We have proprietary curriculum for our SAT and ACT programs. We are just sort of piloting programs where we start to do instructional videos, explanations of problems. I could definitely see in the future having some sort of software suite where we, again, give people access to this. But in terms of what we know is most impactful, we're always going to want to have a guide. Yeah, it's some sort of guide to walk you through the process, because there's tons of material out there. You can Google SAT prep and there will be countless Google pages. Having somebody there who's been there to help you curate that material, that's where we specialize, and that's why it helps to have a guide.
Who's top competitors in the space?
In Charlottesville, Georgetown Learning, they have some great programs. Wahoo Tutors is another local company, and then there's a number of other independents. She's not a competitor. Dawn Anderson.
Yeah.
We refer to Dawn all the time. She's great.
She's great.
So what I try to do is I try to make contact with all the tutors, because
she loves you too. Speaks very highly of you.
Yeah. We saw her on Saturday at our engagement party. It's great to see her. So, I try to make contact with the other independents and companies, because Clayborne has grown to the point at which we sometimes have volume problems. And
you have the
we
most
want to have
market share locally, don't you?
Yes.
Okay.
We're the biggest company in town.
So is the game plan to take, just talking, this is competitive Jerry here, businessman Jerry here, is the game plan to get as much market share as possible in this local market? Is the game plan to be the prep and tutoring company of record in the Commonwealth of Virginia? Is the game plan to build a national brand? What's the strategy?
Yes.
All
yes.
of the above?
Maybe.
Okay.
The national company, I think I have a difficult time seeing how you scale our current model nationally. I could definitely see scaling it within Virginia, because you need to find those people in the localities who are the Lee Elbersons there, who just believe in the mission, who love to help kids, and will lead the charge. We are expanding to Richmond. It's been a slow process moving forward, but we're moving into the Richmond space, and we hope that will help us validate our model, and then we'll look to other places, maybe Virginia Beach, Newport News area.
I like it. You love that aspect, don't you?
Going to validating the model, yes, that's it's a lot of what I do in CIC. I talk about create a model, and then how do you make it sustainable and reproducible.
Yeah, in advertising, it's the POP, the proof of performance. And your POP, I think you and I have even talked about this. Your POP cannot be Charlottesville. because you guys are already in Charlottesville. So in a lot of ways, at least from the businesses that the business that I am, the pop can never be the local market that you're in, because then like the private equity firm that would think about investing, 2, 5, 10 million into helping you scale regionally, going to be like, well, how can we use Charlottesville as the pop? If Lee is from Charlottesville and Lee's like shaking hands and kissing babies with everyone, the pop would be Lee finding another Lee in like a Richmond or a Roanoke or a DC, and then seeing that have success.
Right. And that's, again, finding somebody who
matches your values.
Yeah, has to match your personal and company mission. And that, I think, it's hard to find somebody and trust that your judgment in them is sound. It doesn't happen in weeks. Maybe it happens in a year. Probably happens on the order of like 2 years or something.
Do you get to do tutoring now? You personally?
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't ever want to lose touch with that. So I tutor a handful of students. I think there's 5 students on my calendar right now. I do a lot of organizational coaching, which is more of the holistic piece, helping students prepare for not just a single class, but here's how you prepare for academics in a month, a year. What are you going to do when you graduate? When you go into high school, what are you going to do when you graduate high school? What are you going to do after? Why does all of this matter? And that's really what I like to focus on now.
How have you seen, and this is something we kind of talked off air, how have you seen the space change in the 10 years you've been in the space?
It's changed tremendously. So from the Clayborne perspective, it's pretty simple to see that our location has changed. We started in a little house on High Street right next to La Michoacana.
Yeah, great tacos.
2 rooms, and then we moved into the 515 Locust place, which had 5 rooms, beautiful estate on the old Martha Jefferson place. And then now we've actually just secured a space off of Woodbrook, and we can do 10 sessions at a time.
Nice.
So in terms of just the capacity, we've seen that grow in 10 years. Going from just purely a test prep company, test prep and tutoring, into more of college preparatory services. What does that mean to say college preparatory? It means that we now have a college counselor on staff who helps students make those decisions about which colleges are a good fit for you, and then how do we build your candidacy? Because you take an SAT, you get a good score, great. Still doesn't tell you where is a good fit and then how you should brand yourself. And then the other thing is we've built a team. It's not just me. We have an entire operations team who's helping the parents to really deliver our mission of peace of mind. Parents call, they're frustrated. Our ops team says, don't worry. We know you have these things come up. A lacrosse game has come up. We'll reschedule. You're going to be fine. We're going to have everything we need before the standardized test. So I think in terms of organization, that's what we've seen grow.
So you've built a more full-service model that's more vertically integrated, that offers more efficiencies to people that are intrigued about using your business.
Right. And then, again, thinking about organizational coaching, it's more of a holistic service. It's, we're trying to help students improve outcomes and have better futures.
And I would think each of those is a different revenue stream, a different revenue vertical.
Definitely.
Nice. That's smart. I love that.
Quick thing. So on the industry, I think one of the major things that has changed, and what I hear from parents all the time is they say, why is the application process different? It wasn't like this when I applied to college. And I say, yeah, it actually wasn't like this when I applied to college. In the last dozen years, it's gotten highly selective. Admission rates have dropped by half. Some of them more extreme.
Why so?
University of Chicago used to have like a 50% admission rate. Now it's 8%. What's happened? There's a lot of different factors, but applicant pools have increased. Students are applying to more colleges.
Interesting.
And that just makes it tougher for students to package themselves and makes it more difficult for schools. UVA had a record number of applicants this year.
Students are applying to more colleges because of the ubiquitous nature of these and technology making the application being easier. I remember when I applied, I got in early to UVA. I remember when I applied to UVA,
Congrats.
It was like this long, very thorough and arduous process of papers and certified mail and making sure that the essay, everything was, now is it all online? I mean, forgive my ignorance here.
It is all online now, and they have things like the Common App, which help you to put in the majority of the details and you can apply to multiple schools. But I think in some ways it's sort of a vicious cycle. The admission rates drop, so students are applying to more colleges, and the admission rates are going to drop even further because they're getting more applicants. And so, you think, oh, I used to be able to apply to 5 colleges, surely I'd get into 1. Now they think, oh, well, maybe I should apply to 10 colleges. The admission rates keep dropping. I don't know exactly where this heads.
One of the stigmas, and maybe stigma is not the right word, but one of the topics I follow very closely, especially locally, is, especially since having my son, is I want Trey to grow up in a very diverse community. I'm concerned that, and I say this often on the show, I'm concerned with the tech boom that's happening in Charlottesville, with Joffrey Woodruff, the hedge fund manager and owner of QIM. He's on the second floor across the street now. He's tearing down the ice park, and he's building the Center of Developing Entrepreneurs, the code building. And he is going to put his portfolio of businesses that he's invested in into the code building there. And he's going to, it's really smart. He's going to do built-in efficiencies, like having attorneys on staff, like CPAs on staff, bookkeepers, trusted advisors, where these people don't have to piecemeal them on their own time, wasting their most precious commodity, their time. They can just go to the admin section of the code building and they're all there. Anyway, long story short, he also took $125 million of his own money, donated it to the University of Virginia to start a data science school, which in a lot of ways is going to be a farm system for his data science-driven hedge fund, QIM. Where I'm going with this is I'm apprehensive and somewhat concerned that Charlottesville is turning into kind of like a San Francisco of the East Coast, where Charlottesville can tap the talent that's coming from UVA. I'm apprehensive as a father. I'm super stoked as a business owner, because as a business owner, I think it's going to do huge things for the economy, from driving business and creating entrepreneurial opportunities, disposable income. But I'm apprehensive as a dad because I want my kid to grow up in this diverse community. And I'm concerned that Charlottesville's turning into this, I mess this word up all the time, homogenous, like white, affluent, wealthy community and very limited landmass. Throwing it to you, there is this mindset that there's a gender, or not a gender, but a race gap when it comes to tutoring and education, and who has the disposable income to go to the Claybornes of the world.
This is a great question, and one in which we think about all the time. I will make one little comment. I guess, I think having, infusion of capital for startups in Charlottesville is good. My danger, having lived in the Bay Area, is that the startup community in the Bay Area, it's not as they're not as giving as we are here. It's very cutthroat, and I would hate to see what is a very robust and helping community of Charlottesville turn into that cutthroat. Ruthless, yeah.
So what is it like? I didn't know you had that.
Yeah, I did my graduate work at Lawrence Livermore Labs, which is just east of San Francisco, and had a lot of experience with people, and I did some work in audio engineering, and so I knew a lot of people in the startup space, and there's just so many venture capitals, and you're just fighting for, first round funding, and it doesn't seem as giving a community as Charlottesville. And so, if that starts to happen, CIC will just have to get much bigger. We'll just have to start helping more and more people.
Yeah.
So, anyway, in terms of we like to think about it as access gap, right? That's really the thing, is there's a socioeconomic gap, and those who have means, I think the common thing for me is, you don't need to feel guilty if you have the means to help your student out. But, because of the recent scandals and things that have come in the news with college admission scandals, you do recognize that there is an access gap. And at the heart of Clayborne's mission has always been to provide scholarships for our students. The problem is a tiny little for-profit company in Charlottesville is not going to be able to enact change on a national scale. So in terms of the community, what we've tried to do is take our original model, which is let's just give test prep scholarships to as many students as we can, and turn it into more focused effort and say, how can we genuinely help to bridge that access gap and provide, instead of few resources for many, many resources for a few to truly maximize impact. And in the last couple of years, we've piloted a program called Better Future Fellows, which aims to help under-resourced first-generation college students. And there have been many lessons learned from our end. And one of the major lessons is that when you come from means, you take for granted some of the resources that you have. So even a company saying, hey, Jerry, we want to give you free test prep. Mm-hmm. Okay, how are we doing that? Well, just come to our office. What if you don't have reliable transportation? Let's not even get into the transportation issue in Charlottesville.
Which is serious.
Yeah, which is serious. And then you say, okay, well, maybe what we'll do is maybe we'll just give you online sessions. And they say, well, what if you don't have a good internet connection at the house to sustain that?
Or what if the only computer you have is your phone?
Only computer you have is your phone.
Yeah.
What if you say, okay, well, I'll come to your house. Well, my house is not conducive of a good study environment. You just hit so many roadblocks that you think, okay, we need to take a step back here and figure out what problem are we actually trying to solve. And what we've realized is that it's going to take the entire community, many different nonprofits getting together. City of Promise is a great example of a resource in Charlottesville that tries to help with the transportation. They try to help students find the different resources and advocate for those resources. So our Better Future Fellows program is in its second year, and what we do is we take students from 11th grade through their first year of college, because getting to college is not sufficient. You get to college, you're going to feel that stress, and we don't want students to drop out during that first year. And so we want to support them through that first year so they have somebody to talk to, they have somebody to guide them through that. And so that's been, at the heart of our mission is helping students, but we really feel like we're maximizing impact now.
Interesting. So you feel like your role, Clayborne's role in the community, is defined as?
Great. That's a great question. Where have I heard that before? I would say, Clayborne's role in the community is we are just a group of enthusiastic educators looking to, better the future of the students.
Social entrepreneurs.
So we're social entrepreneurs, and we want to do that regardless of socioeconomic background. And we are the experts in test prep. We are the experts in college prep, and we are the experts in organizational coaching. So in some ways, we have a responsibility to the community to help bridge that access gap. It's not just that, oh yes, we know that we are the best in this. We do have a responsibility, and we feel that responsibility. So our role now is to not only serve students who can't afford it, but to help bridge that access gap. And
it starts so early. Like, what was it, the New York Times story? I mean, that pretty much highlighted the huge disparities in honors and advanced classes with white students and students of color.
Yeah, it's the cradle to college trajectory. It's really disturbing, and I don't want to get too much into it, but there's been some articles about trying to remove the schools that have gone test optional, SAT and ACT optional. You're depending more on grades, but if you look at it, there's also a gap. There's also social biases in GPA averages. Yeah. So trying to rethink how do we best prepare people for success, and in my mind, it's realizing that college is an avenue for success. It's not the avenue for success. And so how do we best prepare people to enter into the workforce?
I can't even understand why someone would value SAT or ACT optional. I mean, from my standpoint, as just being a competitor and like a linear thinker in a lot of ways, having a common test that everybody takes, that breeds equality in a lot of ways, as opposed to breeding favoritism with a grading scale, or whether it's inherent or not, subconscious racism. A lot of times people don't even know that they're doing something. It's just like how they were rated. You know what I'm saying? Right. No, having isn't the SAT common ground, and it keeps it between the lines, if you may?
Yeah, it's.
We can go down this rabbit hole if you want.
I would be happy to go down the rabbit hole. I will say that it's a very difficult issue. Ideologically, it's great to have a standardized test across every school in the United States under the assumption that that test does not have any gender, race, or other biases inherent in the test, which we know now that it does. So, I like the idea of having a standardized test, and I think taking it away is taking away another data point. The unfortunate side is that if you only gauge a student based on their SAT scores, you're gonna miss out on great students, and you're gonna favor that bias. If you keep the SAT and ACT tests in while understanding that there are other factors, then I think it's just another data point, but you have to assume that it's just another data point and it doesn't tell the whole story.
April Dent Ward, welcome to the program. Lauren has this question: how do you keep a pulse on what colleges are looking for from their applicants?
Communication. We try to, consistently stay in contact with the, admissions folks, certainly at UVA, University of Richmond localities, but, it got out of the point where I personally could do it, so we hired somebody on staff to handle our college counseling, and she has her pulse, she has her finger on the pulse of the college counseling community, so, we ask her to give us updates so we're familiar with it. And what she does is, you go through enough of these applications, you're in contact with enough people on both sides of it. You need to know what the high schools are doing, the high school college counselors are doing, and what the admission folks are doing, and figure out what's missing, right? Because if it's perfect alignment, then the college counselors at high schools are preparing students perfectly for what the admissions folks are asking. What happens is as this starts to move around, if this is lagging at all, this is where we come into play, is being in the know and being able to bridge that gap.
How much has it evolved since we were rising through it? I mean, when we were, it was like...
Jerry, we wouldn't get into college.
Really? It's changed that much?
Yeah. With our scores and what we applied with, as competitive as it is, I mean...
Dude, your scores were off the charts.
Believe it or not, my math scores have always been pretty good. Math and science. My verbal scores, this is something I don't really like to admit.
I would never have...
But
you're good with that.
But when I applied to graduate school, it's a funny story. My math scores were off the chart, but the admissions person at University of Maryland called my advisor and he said, "Is Lee an international student?" And he was like, "No, why?" He was like, "Wow, we've just never seen a U.S. student with verbal scores that low." And so a little bit ashamed to admit that, but I've never claimed to be a verbal guy. Although I did bring my scores up on the last ACT. I did some tutoring sessions with Clay, and he brought me to 98th percentile.
Is that what's keeping parents up?
I think what's keeping parents up late at night is, it's the multitude of options. And I think the stress hits an apex at probably the end of junior year, beginning of senior year.
Oh, yeah.
And that stress, it used to fall off pretty sharply, maybe 20 years ago. Now that stress seems to just go all the way through freshman year, and it just keeps going now. 6th and 7th grade parents are wondering, how do we prepare our students for high school? We've actually had parents come in with first graders saying, how do I prepare my kid for college?
Stop it.
Yes, I'm dead serious.
And what do you say? You're like, let's let your first grader figuring out how to get potty trained first?
Let them play with Play-Doh and blocks and just,
first
enjoy
grade,
being a kid. Yeah. I think what keeps them up at night is just trying to figure out because it has changed so much, how do I best prepare my student for college? And how do I get them to take ownership of their life? And so, again, at the heart of our mission is sort of that peace of mind. And so calling us is, the best way to understand that. We offer a free preference test. I mentioned this last time. SAT versus ACT is a very common question. We offer a free preference test that tells you within 1 hour, hey, here's the test you're best suited for. And at least that way you're preparing for the right test. To talk about the extremes of it, we've had a student who, if he would have applied with the SAT, probably one of the best schools he could have gotten into was, maybe ODU. If he would have applied with his ACT scores, he would have gotten into William & Mary. And so those differences can be extreme. And so starting with the right test is important. And so that's what keeps parents up at night. And, I think overbooked schedules is another thing that keeps parents up at night. Hey, he's got lacrosse. He's part of this club. He volunteers. How are we going to find time for all this? And this is where the organizational coaching side comes in and says, don't worry, this is what we're here for. We will help, be flexible with your schedule and make sure that all of these boxes are checked.
I love it. Rock Watson, welcome to the show. Mark Lickman, thank you for watching. Give it a like and a share on any of the streams you're watching this program on. I'm going to keep picking your brain. You've already filled an hour.
Wow.
You've done very well, Lee. I have a couple more questions for you. You find time, despite being the CEO of Clayborne, despite being recently engaged,
playing squash for 5 or 6 hours a week.
Playing squash all the time, and I see him all the time. I'm probably clocking 9 to 10 hours of racquetball. It's my stress reliever.
Yeah.
Your stress reliever as well. How do you find time to get involved with CIC? Give a snapshot of CIC for those that don't know the brand.
Sure. So if you don't know about Community Investment Collaborative, or CIC, we are a nonprofit in town focused on helping under-resourced entrepreneurs, give them the education, mentoring, microfinancing, and networking skills it takes to run a successful business here in Charlottesville. And we do that primarily through a 16-week workshop. We also, offer second stage mentoring. We offer financial management programs, offer loans up to $35,000, and again, just plugging people into those networks, right? I've recommended a lot of my entrepreneurs come see you. Hey, Jerry Miller's very connected, and so that's what we're meant to do, is to help give them the resources, and then also let them know you're not alone. Hey, you may be starting a spa business, out of a one room place. Yeah. You're not that much different than tutoring company that's been in business for 10 years. There's a coffee shop, right? Yeah. There's a lot in common there, and so letting them know that they're not alone and we're here as a resource.
So what are your favorite aspects of working alongside the entrepreneurs that come through CIC?
It's the excitement of the entrepreneurs.
I love that.
We talked about Isaiah Brooks.
Yeah.
He's a Cajun King, starting
King
a
restaurant. Yeah.
Finally, somebody who is going to really do good Cajun food. I looked at his gumbo recipe, and it's just like my daddy's recipe.
Someone tag Isaiah Brooks on one of these Facebook pages and get him in the mix. He is fantastic, people. You know what? And this is one of the things that I have missed as we've gotten more traction, momentum, and success with the ad agency. So now we have, as any business that's expanded, we have higher overheads. As a result of having higher overheads, we have to work alongside a client that can afford price points to help us cover those higher overheads. And we're 11 and a half years old. We are not working alongside as many the first 4 or 5 years of this business, I would sit across on that desk or the desk upstairs from 3 to 7, early stage. I have an idea. I want to come to market and launch this business. And I would feel the energy that they were feeling, and it would be invigorating. Now we're sitting across the businesses that are we have 3 million and we're trying to go to 3.5 million. Right. Or we have 14 million and we need to go 1 percentage point increase. How do we get 5% of 14 is a lot of money.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the challenges we're having now. I miss the sitting across the entrepreneurs, the early stage businesses.
And that's what drives me to do it. I tell everyone who hasn't volunteered, just find something you're passionate about, go in and volunteer, and it just pays dividends. It's honestly what keeps me going. I just met with Scott Williams.
He's watching still.
Yesterday.
He just shared your appearance on the show. He says you're the man.
Well, Scott's a great guy. You should have him on the show. He's awesome. He runs Camp for Real. But just listening to what they're excited about and what they struggle with, and helping them problem solve through the things that they're worried about, and then just helping to fan those flames of their successes. A lot of times early stage entrepreneurs don't see what a success is. It's I only got into, I have 1 flyer up. Great. How many people are going to see that flyer? Yeah. Sometimes those small little milestones are really tough to appreciate.
Yeah, I totally agree. Rock Watson says this about you. Lee is an awesome person. He's helped Slice Cake Bar tremendously. And then he has hashtag CIC alum. Hashtag CIC alum. Rock Watson giving you some props here.
Yeah, Rock is a great guy. If you haven't tried their cake, it's divine.
Are most of the businesses coming through there food service businesses?
Definitely not most.
Okay.
We definitely get a lot of lifestyle. So there's a lot of salons. There's definitely a lot of food catering type businesses. But you get people trying to start apps. You get people like Zakia Pierre starting a business of trying to help new mothers with, find information. And so there's a diverse. It's diverse in so many different ways, not just even in the population, but just early stage versus late stage. Some people have been in business 10 years and are trying to grow. Some people, like you said, all they have is an idea. Some people don't have any employees. Some people have 5 employees.
Yeah.
And so it's great to put all those people in a room and just watch them help each other, basically.
What are some of the common challenges or common hills or mountains that these entrepreneurs need to climb? Common characteristics that you're seeing. I've got to think one of them is like the focus, because entrepreneurs by nature are jack of all trades, master of none.
That's 100% true. So I think finding what it is you're really selling, like honing in on that one service or idea that's really going to be your value proposition. I might overemphasize this, but I'm a cash flow and break even sort of guy. And so I see people struggle with price point. How much should I charge for this? And I say, well, if you charge $40 for an hour massage, what type of clientele would you attract? If you charge $100 an hour, what type of clientele would you attract? And let's look at the numbers and see if these make sense. Because a lot of times people come with an idea and they say, oh yeah, I'm going to start a hot sauce company. And it's like, okay, well, how much are you going to charge? $3 a bottle. Okay, well, how much is it going to cost you to make it? $2.95.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're going to be making 5 cents a bottle. You think you can sell 10,000 of those bottles in a month? And so I think the numbers aspect really helps people understand what their price point should be, and it also helps your value proposition. It's okay to you're charging a premium for your service.
Yeah.
Clayborne, we charge a premium for our service, but we know we're worth it, right?
Yeah.
You're paying for that experience.
Right.
You're paying for people to be experts.
But it took us a while to get there.
It took us a while to get there, but I think starting out, wouldn't you agree many entrepreneurs undervalue their service?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And some of the best advice I got was from our CPA. This guy, UVA undergrad, Harvard Law School.
Yeah, I tried to work with him. He was too busy.
He's not taking any new clients. I feel so lucky. This guy is like essentially our CFO.
Yeah.
And he literally has said, he goes, this is important advice for any of the entrepreneurs that are watching. Raise rates, raise rates, raise rates, raise rates. And the clients that see the value proposition that you offer will stay with you because that value proposition has so much value, if you may. And the ones that are not going to stay with you from a rate standpoint, those oftentimes were the clients that were creating maybe the most headaches.
Yeah, I think that's certainly true. In terms of like the price sensitivity, what most of the entrepreneurs feel is you don't want to price out the people you're really trying to help, right? You want to offer that massage for $40 an hour because if you charge $60 or $70, it's just not affordable for the people you're really trying to help. And so, I think that what I tell entrepreneurs is you should charge what you're worth. And in order to serve that mission of trying to help people who are price sensitive,
you got to stay in business.
Yeah, you offer, charge what you're worth, and then offer scholarships. Say, hey, you know what? I know that you're really hard up for money. I'm going to offer you 2 free sessions. And this more than when people are very price sensitive, those are going to be your biggest critics.
Oh,
and if some people come in to see us and they're like, we can barely afford this, I tell them, why don't I point you to some better resources, right? I don't want you you shouldn't be overextending yourself for this. And many entrepreneurs feel that. And so charge what you're worth. and then offer scholarships. And that's really, that's at the heart of our Better Future Fellows program. And I will use this as a segue into something I did want to mention. As you try to help more and more people, you want to do it in a sustainable way.
Yeah.
We're growing to the point at which our scholarship and Better Future Fellows program is just, it's not scalable in a for-profit business. So we are in the preliminary stages of seeking fiscal sponsorship for the Clayborne Foundation, which will be the nonprofit arm.
You guys are going to start a nonprofit.
Is
that a 501c3?
We are the eventual goal is to start a 501c3. A fiscal sponsorship is sort of our intermediate steps. So,
what's that mean?
A fiscal sponsorship is where an organization or a program is housed under an existing nonprofit.
Okay.
And so you are able to
leverage the 501c3?
Leverage the 501c3, but you operate under another organization. So many organizations in town do this. The Small Business Development Center is a perfect example of something that's, they're not their own nonprofit. They operate under another nonprofit. And so obviously you want to have some mission alignment. So we're looking for a nonprofit which aligns with our mission and, looking to...
Is that why you like the City of Hope?
City of Promise.
City of Promise?
City of Promise. Actually, I think they are also under fiscal sponsorship, under someone else. But we're in the initial stages of fundraising and finding a board. And luckily, at my experience with CIC, I'm familiar with these things, so I will help to lead the charge. But the goal is that we will really be able to help bridge the access gap when this is operated under a nonprofit.
Jared Edwards, watching the program right now. Jared Edwards says, Lee has helped me and my business tremendously. This guy is a genius and knows business very, very well. Where's Jared Edwards watching?
Well, I'll be honest, Jared...
University of Louisiana.
He might be a little bit biased. He is my brother-in-law.
Oh, okay. So this is the guy with the that you were talking about at the beginning, the hosting company.
Yes,
I love it. What's up, Jared? I love it. All right, why don't we close on this? And I want both... You're a positive guy by nature. Okay. So I want both the good, the bad, and the ugly here. Starting and launching a business in Charlottesville. The good and also the bad of starting and launching a business. Charlottesville is what? Roughly, the city of Charlottesville is like 49,000 people. Central Virginia with the outer counties is roughly 300,000 people. So it's not a huge market. And the further that you get away from the city of Charlottesville and Albemarle County, the median income goes down considerably. So the positive and cons of launching a business in this market.
Well, I think you've hit on it a little bit. I think one of the pros of starting a business in Charlottesville, you're not going to be surprised to hear me say this, there are resources like CIC, Small Business Development Center, the iLab at Darden. There's many resources to help you start a business. And so I think we live in a very giving community. So I think that is the good thing about starting a business in Charlottesville. There's many people that are there to help you. The bad, we have a transportation problem, and
affordable housing problem.
Affordable housing and transportation are the two main problems that make it so that you might want to start a business in Charlottesville City, but if you're living in Albemarle County, you're gonna have to have some sort of transportation, and you're gonna need affordable housing. You also need to find affordable business spaces, and so I would say that's one of the bad things.
I think you're totally right. I'm intrigued by this. I always get intrigued and inspired talking with you. Where do we think, and this is just two dudes talking at a bar about a city that we love. Are you excited about the future of Charlottesville? As a soon-to-be married man, I don't know if you're going to start a family or not, soon-to-be married man, as a guy who has a lot of team members that relies on you, and as an organization, you're a board member of CIC where you're counted on by a lot of people. Are you excited about what you're seeing coming down the pipe in this town?
Yes, I'm excited. I'm very excited. I think Charlottesville has a great growth strategy. I just think I love seeing you have city council members on the show, because we want to make sure there's the right people to help lead this charge in our growth. And there's many different facets we need to think of. And so I love the support we have. and I think we are starting to get the right people on the bus.
Positive guy. You took the positive road there. All right, Clayborne Education. How can they find out? All the viewers that are watching, they want to get a part, their children or them themselves want to get a part of Clayborne Education.
So go to Clayborne.com. If you go to contact us, that's the easiest way to get started. If you want to browse some of the materials, there's some videos, there's some explanations, but just know that the consultations are free. It's always best to know where you're at. So contact us, call us, email us, visit our Facebook to check out some of our fun posts. But yeah, that's the way to get in touch with us.
Jared says, I might be biased, but it doesn't make it any less true. And I 100% agree with this. In fact, every message that we've had come in has been something that has been gleaming with positivity about you and your intellect and your willingness to help and your vision and your selflessness, which I think is right on point with what you have built in this community. You are I'm going to embarrass you here. You, in a lot of ways, are a pillar of the community. Wow. And I see people interacting with you around town. People look forward to seeing you and interacting with you, and they go out of their way to speak to you.
Wow, thank you. That really touches me. I appreciate that, Jerry.
You know it's true.
It's
true.
I'm happy that I'm of some support to people in Charlottesville.
Thank you for coming on the program.
I'll always love being here, Jerry.
75 minutes.
Awesome. Wow,
Yeah,
man.
did great. We'll do the out here, then we'll take a photo. We will archive this show in totality on ilovecville.com. We'll take the audio from today's show and we'll turn it into a podcast on iTunes. So you can watch Lee on ilovecville.com and you can listen to Lee on iTunes. For 30 days following today's show, we'll syndicate it across the I Love CVille network. And the I Love CVille network is comprised of 17 Facebook pages, 17 Twitter accounts, the third largest Instagram in the community behind UVA and the city of Charlottesville, an e-newsletter that goes out to 118,000 inboxes every morning at 11 a.m., and of course our website, ilovecville.com, and on our podcast on iTunes. We close the show the same way every time. We ask everybody that's watching the show to consider the golden rule, please. And all I'm asking with that is to treat other people that you come across in your life how you want to be treated yourself. It's the golden rule. Charlottesville needs the golden rule. The Commonwealth and the country need the golden rule more than ever. It's Jerry Miller. It's the I Love CVille Show. We will be back tomorrow at 12:30. With Dropping Julia, live music, a band in our studio. Bands, in a lot of ways, entrepreneurs themselves that have to build brand awareness, book gigs, sell merch, get followers and customers, essentially. They're dropping a new CD, and tomorrow we have that announcement and the insight of where you can find that new CD. So Dropping Julia tomorrow on the I Love CVille Show for live music. We'll see you at 12:30. Good work.
Jerry, man, did I talk too much, man?
Yeah, you were great.
Okay, awesome.
You were amazing. You know you're amazing. You did so well. You're a natural in this setting. We're gonna get the hero picture.
Okay.
We'll get it here. I'm gonna move this chair.